Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers, and here is our review of the Asics Gel-Kayano 31. Let's have a look. The Asics Gel-Kayano 31 costs £180 or $165. It weighs 306 grams or 10.8 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 10mm. Although the Asics Gel-Kayano saw a host of changes in its 30th version, the Gel-Kayano 31 is a more subtle update, with tweaks across the upper and outsole and slightly more cushioning in the midsole. The most important aspect of the Gel-Kayano 31 is the combination of three factors: the soft FF Blast Plus Eco midsole foam, PureGel technology in the heel for more comfortable landings, and the 4D guidance system to provide adaptive stability. The result is a careful balance of support and cushioning designed for easy and longer runs. The shoe also features an updated mesh upper design to improve breathability, a knit collar construction for step-in comfort, and a modified Asics grip outsole that aims to improve grip and softness.
When it comes to fit of the Gel-Kayano 31, I've got a UK 8.5 here. I generally wear a UK 9 across the board, but I'm on the cusp between a US 9.5 and a US 10. I found with Asics' cushion shoes in the past that they tend to come up quite roomy for me, whereas their race shoes, I'm always a UK 9. So I went for a UK 8.5 in this shoe, and it has fit me really well. I managed to test an 8.5 and a 9 in the previous version of the shoe, so I know a 8.5 is going to fit me well in terms of length around the toe box. I was concerned about the amount of cushioning and kind of structure at the back of the shoe because I've had a few little Achilles flare-ups lately from very kind of structured heel counters, but actually it's been fine with the Gel-Kayano. Haven't had any problems on that end. It's just a comfortable hold at the back. There's lots of padding here. It will end up running a bit hot sometimes in the summer, but overall it creates a very cushioned and comfortable hold. I was very happy with the half size down, which is still kind of my regular size in the US. So if you're kind of on the cusp between two different sizes, I'd probably say go for the smaller one because I think it is quite a roomy shoe in my normal size.
So the fit for me in the Gel-Kayano 31, I mentioned this in the first video. I'm a size 8 in the UK. It is quite a roomy shoe. There's quite a bit of space in terms of width and a little bit in the length of the shoe. I didn't notice loads of extra length. I know Nick mentions you could size down half size. You could. I would stay to my size in this shoe, but if you were really on the cusp and you wanted to make sure that you've got a bit more of a tighter lockdown fit and you don't want loads of space in the forefoot, you might want to size down half a size. But I would stay to my size. I've had no issues over the course of the training that I've done in this shoe.
So I've done 80k of running in the Gel-Kayano 31. I've been using it quite a lot lately. I've done 2 long runs in the shoe of over 20k, some shorter, easier stuff, and also an easy to steady progression run, finishing a decent pace, kind of around 330, 340 per k. And I actually have really enjoyed running in the shoe. I have to say, I liked the previous version of the shoe. I thought it was a well-designed stability shoe that gave support and structure without being overly oppressive, and it still felt very cushioned. And as a neutral runner, I enjoyed running in it, probably even more than the Gel Nimbus 25. I think that's the same with the Gel-Kayano 31, actually. I think I prefer it to Asics' neutral shoe because it has a lot of similar features in terms of the comfort, the cushioning you have there, but I don't know, the way it feels a bit more supportive, the slightly lower stack height, I just think I prefer the feel of the Gel-Kayano. It seems to tick over for me a little bit better on the run. I've kind of had probably 2 different run impressions of it. So actually on my longer runs, it's felt very good. It has moved through my foot strike quite smoothly. I've enjoyed the little bit of support. It feels like it gives you a little bit back, but not too much. It's not the most lively shoe in the world, as you'd expect. Had a couple of times when I've been moving on very tired legs where it has felt a bit clunkier. I think that it could probably smooth out the heel of the shoe a little bit to give you a little bit more of a rocker sensation at the back there, just to move you into your foot strike. But there's a big wedge here. It's very structured, very supportive, but sometimes it can feel very slightly clunky at the back of the shoe and get in the way slightly on the run. But actually, for the most part, I do feel like I've enjoyed it a bit more than the previous version of the shoe. I don't think there's been any real huge update to the shoe apart from the new outsole, but I do feel like I've had a slightly smoother, more enjoyable ride from the new shoe. That could all be in my head. It could just be a case of whatever runs I happen to be doing at the time went a bit better. But yeah, I have enjoyed it for long runs. I've enjoyed it for ticking through general training. It's a very supportive shoe, so I often end up using it for recovery runs on the days in between hard sessions, and it does feel very good for that. It gives a lot of support without being so big and kind of monstrous on the foot that it becomes an annoyance to run even at a slow pace. Like I say, it can be a little bit cumbersome, but overall I've enjoyed the ride for those recovery runs. As mentioned, there's got support features here, but they don't feel really very oppressive, and as a neutral runner, I've enjoyed the shoe a lot, and I do think it will have that kind of cross runner appeal. Like if you are in need of support and stability, it is there with this very wide kind of base, this new 4D guidance system, all that kind of stuff. I think you are getting support you need if you are a stability runner, but if you're a neutral runner, all you have here is a very comfortable cushion shoe that's got a little bit of extra support. And I'd say that's something that most runners could benefit if you're doing high mileage weeks and doing long runs. I don't think it's at all a downside to have a supportive shoe like this, and actually I quite enjoy having it. It's still not a very versatile daily trainer, I would say. Like when I did the slightly faster run in the shoe, it does feel big. That's when the heel can come into play a little bit more, that kind of cumbersome feeling you have here. This is very much a shoe I think built purely for those easy runs, daily runs. Like if you up the pace even towards kind of any kind of race pace or anything like that, it does feel a bit big, and it's just not really what it's designed for. And I think you definitely want to pair this in a rotation if you could. But that said, if you are kind of a one shoe runner, maybe a newer runner, it could work as your only shoe. But if you are going to try and run at any kind of pace, I did feel it just became a bit big and cumbersome. You notice the kind of lack of kind of ping from the midsole and the toe off on the shoe. But overall, I've done a lot of miles in the shoe and I have enjoyed them. It's been a pretty successful and enjoyable run test all round.
Okay, so in the first run video, I was very complimentary about this shoe. I went out for a run on fresh legs and it felt great. It felt very comfortable. I had no issues with it at all. And it felt like a traditional high stack cushion shoe. Since doing that, I've done a few different runs, and one of those runs has been a recovery run after I did a 10k race last weekend, and as a result my legs were really tired. And what I did notice about this shoe is that it does not do well on tired legs. The stability elements are quite subtle in this shoe in comparison to something like the earlier Gel-Kayanos, where you really knew they were stability shoes, and as soon as you put them on, whether it was an easy run, whether it was a daily run where you're picking up the pace a little bit, you could tell it was a stability shoe, and it made it very hard to have a nice comfortable run in unless you needed loads of stability and then you sort of had to use that shoe. But with this version of the shoe, it's a lot more subtle. So most of the time, I can't even tell I'm wearing a stability shoe. It's quite hard to feel those stability elements in it until you need them. So for me, I am told sometimes by gait analysis and things that I could do with a bit of stability. I don't normally use stability shoes, so I don't really need it. But what I found with this shoe is that I'd have to move my foot around a little bit while I was running, and I could really hit the points where I would feel that stability, those stability elements kicking in. But you don't really notice them when you're not doing that on purpose, or you're not pronating noticeably. So what I would say about the shoe is that when I got onto those, when I was running on tired legs, that midsole, just you really notice that because maybe there's stability elements in it, it does lose a little bit of bounce or energy return or anything like that. It just feels a little bit hard on the legs when they're really, really tired. So definitely don't enjoy it for those really those recovery runs on really tired legs, and I noticed the difference in it then. So for the rest of the runs in this shoe, I've got up to about 50k in this, and the longest run I've done is about 14k. The way that I've been running in it is mainly those sort of daily runs and easy runs, and for the majority of those it feels absolutely great. It just feels like a cushioned, enjoyable, solid daily shoe, cruiser, easy run shoe, and it does a very good job at that. I didn't really enjoy the earlier Gel-Kayanos before the 30. They were just very, very high stability shoes that they just felt very big, very chunky, very blocky on the feet. And they weren't very versatile for me. I could really tell they were stability shoes and they weren't designed for somebody like me. Whereas this is a shoe that is much more applicable to a wider audience. It's a shoe that if you need a bit of stability, this is going to give you it, but you're maybe not going to notice it that much. If you need a lot of stability, you're probably going to get it from this shoe because you can really feel it kicking in with this 4D guidance system and the slightly firmer midsole foam that you get in here over something like this, the Gel Nimbus 26. So I've very much enjoyed a lot of the runs that I've done in this shoe. I think it's a really good, solid stability shoe now, which is really part of this sort of movement towards making stabilities more accessible and more enjoyable for people to run in, not like some of the older stability shoes that were really not very comfortable to run in a lot of the time. So I would say that this shoe now it's really become an option for people that just want a nice cushion shoe. If you were looking at something like the Asics Gel Nimbus 26, you could get this instead now. But I do think that there's a little bit more softness in that shoe, and it's a little bit more comfortable to run in over different runs. Even though it sits there now as a really solid cushioned daily shoe, I still think there are other better options out there. But I have very much enjoyed running in this shoe. The only thing I would say about it is the modifications to the shoe are very minimal in comparison to the previous version. There's the new outsole on it. The first time I ran in this shoe and I did the first run video, I thought it was absolutely fine. I did find it a little bit slappy on a couple of the runs. Nowhere near as bad as the Asics Gel-Nimbus 26, but more so than the previous version of the shoe. It's not a major problem, but I did notice that. So if you're aware of the slappy feeling of the Gel-Nimbus 26, you get a little bit of it with this shoe. Other than that, solid, enjoyable, good bit of testing, and I still think it's one of the best stability shoes out there, even though it's quite expensive.
So I think the Gel-Kayano 31 is a very good stability shoe, very good cushion shoe in general. I think it would round out lots of people's rotations well as the cushion shoe in a rotation alongside slightly faster options. It can hoover up a lot of miles, it's comfortable, it's going to be durable, deals very well with easy paces and long run paces, and it's also okay for mixing up your pace a little bit occasionally. Like if you are a runner who's doing quite structured training, like doing lots of interval sessions, that kind of thing, I think you definitely want to pair this in a rotation with a faster shoe. Something like the Saucony Tempest is a very good stability shoe for slightly faster runs. But if you are a newer runner, you just want a supportive shoe you can also walk around in. This is a good walking shoe as well, very supportive. Then the Gel-Kayano will do a good job. It's very expensive though, and with this shoe, there's always a case for looking at the previous model of it, and I certainly think the Gel-Kayano 30 does all the good things this shoe does. Really, like, I did enjoy running in the 31 a little bit more, but couldn't really put my finger on exactly why that was, and maybe if I went back to the Gel-Kayano 30 now, I'd have a similar feeling. But I think you've got a great shoe with the Gel-Kayano 30 if you want a supportive cushion shoe with all the kind of same elements really that you have in this shoe. There's small differences, but nothing too big. You can find the previous version of the shoe on sale for a lot less. I think that'll probably be the way to go now, but if you are happy to pay full whack, the Gel-Kayano 31 is a very good shoe. It's just these prices are so big these days that I think it's always better to look for value by finding the older shoe. There are some other great stability shoes out there. I think the Saucony Tempest I mentioned already is a really good all-rounder shoe. If you're somebody who doesn't really like really cushioned shoes and doesn't really feel the need to have a shoe as big as this, even in your rotation, just for easy runs, I think the Saucony Tempest is a much more versatile all-round shoe. I enjoy doing easy runs in that shoe. Like, if I was a stability runner, that is the shoe I would use because I don't necessarily feel the need to have a shoe as cushioned as this, even for easy runs. And the Tempest is a bit more versatile, a bit more bouncy for your fast runs as well. So yeah, Gel-Kayano 31, really good shoe. The price is a big factor though, and there's probably better deals to be had elsewhere. But if you do start seeing this shoe in a sale, I think it's a really enjoyable cushion shoe, and it probably surprised me in how much I enjoyed it throughout the run test.
Okay, so my verdict on the Asics Gel-Kayano 31, very similar to the previous version. There's not many updates in this shoe. I definitely didn't really notice any major changes to it, and I could run in either of this version or the previous version and get exactly the same feeling that I've come to expect from these shoes. Then it really just comes down to price. So if you can get the older version over this one, definitely get the older version because you're not getting a massive overhaul. If that was the Asics Gel-Kayano 29 and 30, that's a completely different shoe. This is a very minor update on the previous version, quite similar to what happened with the Asics Gel-Nimbus 25 and 26, which was a sort of tweaking of some of the bits of the shoe. So I've mentioned the price there. This is quite an expensive shoe, and you can go for the older version, but there are other stability shoes out there that might work for you better and probably going to come off cheaper. I really like the Saucony Tempest. The Tempest has less stability than the shoe. It's a little bit more on the sort of daily shoe side of things, but it does have some stability elements in it. If you need a lot of stability, you're probably not going to go for that shoe. You're probably going to want something closer to this. But if you want a tiny bit of stability, or you just want to have a shoe that's a little bit more supportive than your average running shoe, then the Tempest is a really good option for that. It's a lot more versatile. You can run a bit faster in it. So it's a good option. I much prefer that as a stability shoe. But if you need loads of stability, this is a better option. Okay, so that's it from me and Nick on this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell, all those sorts of things. And if you go into the caption below, you can find a link to our podcast, which comes out a few times each month, including our Points of Shoe podcast, where we answer your questions. Right, thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.